Welcome to Season 2 of Self-Care-ish. It's selfish with care. I'm Megan, your host, and each week I spend about 20 minutes to an hour unpacking different ways to fill your cup after a divorce, or if you're on a dating or self-dating journey. Either way, enjoy and let's get into it. This isn't a regular ad. This is a cool ad. Because it is an ad about something I have made, which I am pretty proud of. It's the Self-Care-ish Society newsletter ad. And before you press forward, I know what you're about to do. It's not a regular newsletter in the sense that you just get episode reminders and me waxing lyrical about my month each month. I have been furiously reaching out to all my favorite brands to find ways for all of us, you and me, to get deals off of them. So it's kind of like you could think of me as like a mini Costco, except you don't really have to pay a membership at all. It's free. Or you could think of it as kind of like Groupon, except it's deals from cool trending brands that you actually want to shop from. All you do is visit selfcare-ish.com.au. Scroll down to subscribe, and that is it. You get amazing deals you won't get anywhere else. I get subscribers in my newsletter, which, you know, that's the whole name of the game. But I want to give you value, and so this is what I'm doing because I have all these connections. I have all these brands that talk to me. Why don't we do something together for you guys? So it's like a win-win for everybody. Anyway, and to prove my love, here is a code for Shroomly, who I get my Lion's Mane mushroom powder from every month, sometimes twice a month, because I do these mega giant scoops and I put it in this Belgian chocolate ashwagandha powder that I have and I mix it up, shot it every day, and I swear to God my PMDD has been a lot easier. So visit shroomly.com.au and use the code selfcareishpod20 when checking out, and you'll get 20% off anything and everything. The links are in the show notes, so it's easy for you to just go there. And I'm just giving you that one for free, but subscribe and there's even cooler goodness in the newsletter, I promise. All right, let's talk celebrity divorces. All right, welcome back to Self-Care-ish, Season 2, episode, I think we're at number 3 now. And truthfully, I was actually prepping another episode for this week because I've been back on Hinge and interviewing my matches for their take on a specific dating over 30 issue. However, as Hollywood is wont to do, a major celebrity divorce bombshell just barged into my metaphorical room. And as a divorce-ish podcast, I feel like I couldn't not have an opinion on this whole thing because we have opinions about everyone's divorce. If you and I notice that a couple starts posting a few too many "I love you so much" Instagrams, or if someone randomly deletes all the photos of their partner from their main feed, you know we're going to go spend a good evening's worth of sleuthing to figure out what is going on there. And if you're divorced and you're listening to this, you know that we even try to just sit quietly and pontificate about our own divorces and why things didn't happen or why they didn't work. And we can't help it because, again, it's human nature. We're kind of like modern day Sherlock Holmeses with our phones acting as our Watsons. And, well, at the time of recording this, we have a very juicy celebrity divorce happening before all our eyes. But there's a reason that this one specifically is fascinating to me. And that is how Joe Jonas's team is spinning the narrative or working hard to spin the narrative. But let me backtrack a little bit here. Okay, quick history lesson. So Joe Jonas from the Jonas Brothers, a teen band which successfully turned into a grown-up band, famous for hits, I guess most recently, like Sucker. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think their modern day success has been driven largely by Joe and Nick's marriages. Like, Nick has married Priyanka Chopra, who's a stunning actor who got her start in Bollywood. And Joe married Sophie Turner. And it's not as though these relationships were kept under wraps. Like, all three of the brothers featured their wives in their recent music video for Sucker. So they definitely very much deliberately entwined their private relationships with their public work. So that's why we shouldn't feel too bad about speculating or thinking about this relationship or talking about it, because it's part of their public narrative. But for those who didn't have their hearts broken over the ending of Game of Thrones, Sophie Turner starred as Sansa, and then she was Phoenix in an X-Men reboot. But on social media, she's mostly beloved for having this very down-to-earth relationship with Joe. Like, there's footage of her just sculling her beer with him at basketball games, or they got married by Elvis in Las Vegas. They, as a couple, are very likable and adorable, and seemingly were the most solid thing in Hollywood. Now, I want to say, obviously, all of this is from an extreme outsider's perspective. I used to work as a news writer for a gossip magazine back in the day when we all used to buy them from the supermarket, and when they tried to convince us that Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart were really in love. I'm that old, people. I'm 38. And so I know as well as anyone how much work goes into crafting a celebrity relationship narrative. But what we're seeing and how this divorce plays out, and it is still very early days in it, is that no matter how much money or fame or publicity you have, in the end, divorce is shit and difficult and traumatic for everyone, and we're all human. And despite our best efforts to portray things a certain way, there are always little tells that give away more of the narrative than you really want. So let's take a quick music break, and I'll get into what I mean by that. So you don't have to go searching very hard to find a ton of speculation and opinion on this breakup. But I wanted to come at this from the angle of someone who has gone through a divorce or is going through one, because I think a superpower that comes from relationship trauma, not that my ex deliberately caused trauma, but just that the breakup in general is always traumatic. But one of the superpowers you get is you're able to read between the lines a lot better than you used to be. And for Sophie and Joe, this is despite their best efforts at writing one of the driest public statements I have ever seen. So Sophie and Joe both shared this on their Instagram this week. I'm going to read it in my best PR voice. Statement from the two of us. After 4 wonderful years of marriage, we have mutually decided to amicably end our marriage. There are many speculative narratives as to why, but truly this is a united decision, and we sincerely hope that everyone can respect our wishes for privacy for us and our children. I mean, this is a great statement. It is clean, it's tidy, it seems very united, but it comes a little too late for me. Because you see, before this statement even came out, Joe Jonas's team was already spinning a narrative. It started with articles on TMZ about how Joe Jonas has filed for divorce with a very specific detail that can only be given to TMZ by a personal source or from his team. And that is this line. Here we go. Joe confirms what we've known since this weekend, namely that the 2 children have been residing with him of late. Here in the docs, though, he makes sure to note where. Miami, as well as other locations throughout the United States, in commas. In other words, he's been taking them with him on the road as he's toured. I love reading TMZ, but they've never been the best at writing and journalism, so I apologize if that was really hard to understand. But essentially, someone from his team wanted TMZ to say that the kids have been spending time with Joe. Now, straight up, I just want to stipulate, I am not anti-Joe or anti-dad or guys or whatever with what I'm about to say. I think by the time I get to the end, you'll understand that. I know a lot of guys also listen to this pod, about 30% of you. So let me just say, right now, I come in peace. But what grinds my gears about that line above is this. It wasn't necessary to the article. I mean, the 2 kids have never really been seen in the public eye. They're babies. So let's just reverse the roles for a second. If Sophie's team had leaked the line, Sophie confirms the 2 children have been residing with her of late, and she's taking them on tour with her, nobody would bat an eye. And that's because women and children, they're intrinsically entwined by society, just by nature, and that's even though men do and should split the parenting roles these days. But his team knows that we're going to read into that line a certain way. And that's because they know that we know that common sense says that taking children on the road with a band that's touring never sounds as good or as stable as having kids in a routine at home. But what we don't know is what kind of amazing celeb-style backup nanny system they might have between Sophie and Joe. It could be amazing. Sophie might be on set working 14 hours a day. He's doing shows for like 2 hours a day. So you tell me which one's better for the kids. But the PR narrative impact of that line is immense and has the implication of being very anti-Sophie, but with a nice little slathering of plausible deniability. So the game has been set. Who wins or who loses in the breakup? But Joe should know this. When you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. And when I say die, I just mean your PR, public persona. We hope nobody dies. We hope everybody thrives. And that's actually really interesting to me because whether or not you and I want to admit it, we all play that game on some level. And definitely more in the celebrity world, because in the normal world where you and I reside, once you have kids, when you break up, it forces you to really zoom out and you just kind of go, look, I don't fucking care who wins here as long as the kids are okay. That's the holy grail. But if I dug into my contacts list, I know a few people going through a divorce where it does feel like a war or a competition for who gets more or less or is happier or more successful or who's further along in their healing journey. In some way, shape, or form, there's always that weird comparison level, whether we like it or not, and I do not like it. So back to Joe. Today, he was snapped by Backgrid, who are a paparazzi company paid for by celebs when they need candid moments shot. It's him, and he's out and about with his kids. Honestly, I've not paid that much attention to celebrity news over the past 4 years, but I have never seen Joe Jonas out and about with his kids. So that's indicator number 2 that there's something fishy going on. And other articles that have come out since then with Joe's camp say that he and Sophie split because Sophie's young and she parties too much. ET Canada recently pulled out their super sleuthing abilities and found this clip from Sophie. I'll play it now.
Yeah, I heard the divorce rates were up. I'm an introvert. I'm a homebody. I just like, I if I could stay at home all day, I would. So this is great for me. I leave the house like once a day anyway to walk my dogs, and then that's it. Joe and I, it's actually kind of, everything seems to be working out in my favor here because Joe's like he's a real social butterfly. So I struggle to kind of lock him down and have him just spend time with me. So it's like prison for him, but it's great for me.
Now, take this interview with a huge mega grain of Malden salt because that whole interview happened in COVID, and stars we know were all working overtime to be relatable to all of us in our collective struggle of being stuck at home. So we should all be aware of that. But for me, the gel ain't gelling. Now, stepping way back. The reason all of this is very interesting to me is this. Because I firmly believe that all celebrities do is put a giant mirror up to who we are in society. And that's why we love to watch their lives play out, because it reflects who we are on just a giant scale. I mean, we all know that. But in this case, it's a reflection of our own divorces. And one of my favorite creators has been able to encapsulate a feeling I've been trying to put into words. She's Molly B. McPherson on TikTok, and she is a PR specialist. And she says this: when it comes to divorce, always look for the quiet person. And what she means by that is there's the person who is working overtime to PR to their social network or the general friend group about how amazing they are as a mother or a father, or they're usually the one really spinning out, really talking about the whole thing and spilling their guts. And what she also says, it's often not the person who left, but it's usually the person who may have caused the things that ended the marriage. Like they're on the offense because they're feeling nervous and they're not able to sit in their truth like the other party who, I don't know, maybe didn't do the bad thing. I'm not sure. And then she says, look for the quiet person. The one who keeps their business private. The one not spouting a million stories about why their marriage ended, giving away all their personal details. Usually that's the person who's doing the most healing from the breakup. And Joe Jonas is spinning right now. Narratives, photo sessions, leaked sources, everything under the sun to make sure he looks a certain way. And it's backfiring because he's working so hard at it. Now, as someone who's going through a divorce and who has a podcast, I know I naturally took a pause here and went, okay, am I the Jonas in this situation? And I guess the answer is maybe. And I don't really ever like to comment on my previous relationship too much and give too much detail away. But I guess what's interesting is it's not so much the whole who is to blame scenario, because you and I know all relationships are hard and complex and layered with love and tough stuff. But in the game of who wins after a breakup, whether it's a celebrity or just a normal person, the real winner at the end of the day is the person who heals the fastest. Whether that happens in public or behind the scenes. But that's actually a really good question to ask yourself if you are going through a breakup. Am I the Joe Jonas in this scenario? Or am I the Sophie Turner? Or am I a mix of both? Sometimes complaining, sometimes spinning a narrative, sometimes quiet and elegant. And neither are truly bad or better than each other. It's just a really interesting, I guess, fun self-analysis tool. And ultimately, I just love to get your take on this. So DM me on Instagram at Meghan Lonrigan, or leave me a voicemail because I love to hear them at selfcare-ish-ish.com.au. I'm also on TikTok at Meghan Lonrigan. And I'll be interviewing my Hinge matches next week, so I will see you next Wednesday. All the links are in the show notes. See you then.